mind, body, and soul. The information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being distracted.
I did start reading it, and it's not an easy read. Like, I know Sarah really loved it, but it's very technical, and if you're not into, like, I like birds, they're pretty, but I don't really notice the difference between them and what they do and everything. So I found, like, I would skim over the names of birds, which then therefore is defeating the purpose. So I think I'm gonna have to really pay attention. This is not going to be like a flip through for like a little bit of time. Like, I think I'm going to need to like delve into this book in order to get something from it, because I find it's very technical. And I don't know, Sarah, you didn't think that, obviously.
No,
but
I think so too, because I just read the intro and then it had all these like audios you have to listen to understand what he's saying. So then I went to the website. So that stops me from reading. So I read that last night and I was like, okay, in the morning, I'll have to try to listen to these audios. And then I'm flipping through and trying to go on the website to listen to the audios. And I tried to download them and they didn't work. And then also that documentary that he mentions in it, The Art of Tracking, that documentary.
Yeah.
I went to the website. It's not available. I looked on that website. It's not there.
No.
But also the bird calls, I had trouble downloading them from the one site, even though they let you. And then the other site, I could hear them just on the web. But then, like, I don't know if I'll recognize the wilderness. I don't, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is amazing and it's exciting, and wouldn't it be great if I could hone the bird language and be walking through the forest or whatever and understand, oh, a cat's going to be coming. Like, one of the stories he says in the intro is that he's getting a tour of a university and he hears these birds doing their language. And because he speaks bird, he's like, oh, a cat's going to be coming. And he says it out loud to the guy who's chattering about the university. He's like, a cat's going to be coming soon. And he was like, what? And then a cat came and the guy was like, and he's like, and the guy looked at me like I was psychic, but he didn't know that the birds told me or whatever. And I was like, that would be amazing. But I listened to the audio today and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to pick up that that's an alarm call for something. Like, it just sounds like some tweeting. I don't know.
I think this is the point of the sit spot, is that when you first do it, you don't notice differences at all, but your brain is still figuring it out, even if you don't consciously think you're figuring it out. So eventually you'll be like, something's changed. And it's that, like, you know, going to the same spot every time. And I love that where he's like, a cat's coming. The birds told me. I love when people are super passionate about something. Like, he's so into it, right? Like when he was like, I saw this type of bird. This type of bird! Like, he was all excited. Like, they're not from here. Like, the excitement. The excitement he gets from, like, when he first, like, discovers some bird that's out of his territory or whatever. That's fun.
I also like that he says that we have, from thousands of years of being hunter-gatherers, that we have like biological memory that we don't know, like in our, it's non-conscious. It's right in our DNA. Thank you. In our DNA, that if we start learning these skills, that instinctually we'll think, oh, a cat's coming or a raccoon's coming or whatever, and we won't know why. We know what animal's going to come, but because we've relearned what we've lost, that soon the instincts start like coming in from our DNA because of our, you know, ancestry or whatever. I think that's kind of cool. It'd be nice if that's true, but I feel like cool. I don't know if I'm going to be able to speak bird after this. Is the point.
Definitely not. It's not about learning how to speak
sense.
Bird.
Yeah.
It's just about getting introduced to the idea that, like, paying more attention and becoming more in tune with nature could be, you know, a whole different way to experience nature, I think.
And they can teach you something. It's like, you think they're just tweeting and do their thing, but they've got a whole other thing going on. And if you immerse yourself in there, they can tell you something. And I think part of it's about being aware of your surroundings too, like in a world where we're all multitasking. Part of the circle of life. We're all trying to multitask all the time, and we're all trying to do stuff. And when you multitask, you're actually taking away from the experience of living because you're not experiencing what you're doing right now. Like we try to multitask so that we're being efficient and we're doing as much and being as successful as we can be. But when we do that, we actually are less successful because we're not doing each thing the most. We're not like 100% in it, right? So like you could be, and I mean, I do this, listening to an audiobook while doing the dishes, but I'm not doing either one great.
Fully.
Yeah, I'm not doing either one fully. Yeah. And so I think that's part of it, is being in an experience and realizing that the stuff around you, there's more going on around you than just you. You know, like humans, we like to think we're like the center of the...
That's what I really liked. I think I was just checking to see, like, did I start reading chapter 1? Because I read the intro too. And I really liked how he was describing, I can't remember who it was, but I think it was like a teacher at some point of his who said, like, when you acknowledge a bird or a whatever, like a thin string goes out to them.
Yeah.
And the more times you do that, the thicker it gets until it's like a rope. And like, if you take that idea and apply it to everything, then it makes a really nice visual of the interconnectedness of everything. And then like how humans tend to think that they're the center of the universe or whatever, like it just really evens that playing field again. And so like, I really like how that's kind of like really in tune with the whole like Indigenous kind of, right? Like I like how the Indigenous studies are like woven right in here. And like, I really liked that specific string theory, but different than, you know,
a different string.
Yeah, different string theory.
It's like the web. I was thinking that when I read that, I was thinking about how you mentioned before when you took that course about Indigenous, a lot of Indigenous cultures think of it as a web, right?
Yeah.
Instead of a hierarchy.
Yeah.
So when I read that part about the rope, I was thinking that too, like how the thread becomes a rope. I was like, oh, it's awesome. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And I also really like how much it acknowledges like Indigenous science, because by virtue of how not only real it is, but also like our science is actually kind of based on it. And like, I don't know, I just really like this in the opposite to like talking about strangers or whatever. Talking about strangers. Did you see that stranger? What a lose. But I mean, talking to strangers, how I felt like Gladwell was kind of not mentioning things that I felt were worthy of being mentioned. In this, I think this guy is mentioning all the things that I think are really worthy of being mentioned. I'm like excited about it.
I like that part where he said that one of the scientists, I'm probably going to screw this up, but one of the scientists said, this is the first time we ever discovered this.
Yeah.
And he was like, actually, no. Maybe this is the first time a paper was written on it, but
yeah,
this is Indigenous teaching. We've known this forever.
Yeah.
They've known this forever. Now you're writing something about it, but like, I really like that. Like, I like that he made it so like blunt, like that. The scientific
it's not a discovery.
It's the same. Yeah, the same thing as the discovery of America, right? You know what I mean? Like you didn't discover anything. It's the first time you became aware of it.
Totally. I really like that he like acknowledged that the scientific world does that, and he wants to acknowledge that they do that.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Is there some, just to bring this topic, because he's a white man talking about, you know, Indigenous ideas, do you think that there's some cultural appropriation or something like that? Like, I feel like he deals with it in a very respectful way. But
yeah.
If you go to his website, I think he is trying to be respectful, and he talks to that actually, and gives credit to where credit's due, and I don't think he's trying to appropriate.
I think by virtue of the giving of credit, it kind of addresses any risk of the appropriation, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that sounds so technical, but like in the simplest form, right? If he was writing this book about like what the robin knows and never mentioning like the entire giant basis and history and foundation of all of the information that came from Indigenous knowledge, then it would be total appropriation.
It says that
because
he started to be mentored at the age of 10 as a naturalist and tracker in the Native American tradition. Sounds pretty, yeah. I mean, I don't know how that, yeah, he was mentored from an age of 10. I don't know how, like that, I don't know, but that seems, I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah,
I'm talking
he
about.
also
Taking it
takes,
and wearing it as his own, right? He is like saying like,
Mhm.
this is what I learned through my relationships with,
Ships.
yeah.
Yeah.
and it's not just North American Indigenous cultures that he studies either. It's like around the world. He's gone to other places as well. And then I guess he's taking his teachings that he's gotten from all these different mentors, and then applying it to his like specifically his love of birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll see too. That's just
Yeah,
the
I
intro.
just started it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just started it. But I did notice his website has a whole bunch, all the different tribes he's learned things from, and different Indigenous cultures he's learned things from all over the world. So
Excellent.
Book interrupted.
This interruption is brought to you by regret. It came up, albeit afterwards, so kind of an impossibility to actually accomplish right now, that we should do a tarot card at the end of every off the shelf, which obviously great. But our last off the shelf was with Kirsten Karchmer, and I so wish we got to pull a tarot card for her. So this interruption is brought to you by regret as well as promises. Kirsten, I'm coming for you.
Book interrupted.
They talk about the observers of bird language listen to identify, interpret 5 vocalizations. I thought that was interesting. If we're able to tell the difference between songs, companion calls, territorial aggression, adolescent begging, and alarms. And so he can tell the difference between all those. So when they do certain sounds, that communicates, and it also communicates not only with their own like species of bird, but other birds and also other animals within the forest, which I thought was really interesting too.
yeah, I like that part too, that he said that when there's an alarm from a bird, then the deer knows the hide, or you know what I mean? Like the other creatures of the forest are listening, or of nature are listening to the birds. It's just us humans that are like, it's like this, right? And all the other creatures are like, oh shit, that robin says there's some trouble coming.
Yeah.
Right? And we're probably the trouble.
Yeah. I love your impression of a human.
Every year, like worldwide, there's like a bird count. Like there's a Christmas bird count. I don't know if it's called the Christmas, but there's like an annual bird count that people all over the world do, and then you can put this information in, you submit it, and then naturalists or like scientists track birds populations and migrations and stuff. But we went for the kids Christmas bird count with our naturalist club, and so they helped us like identify birds. We went and like there's a place we go to like count the birds and stuff, and it's amazing when you go out with somebody who's trained. Like these people are birders and they're trained to like recognize all these species and their calls and stuff, and so they can hear the call and they're like, oh, we have this type of woodpecker or whatever. I think we saw 3 different types of woodpeckers, and like the birds you see when you're with somebody who has experience and has been looking is very interesting, because as the bird count went and as the hike went, then I actually started seeing more in just this short period of time, which is so cool. And I was like, maybe I should join the naturalist club. Like, I don't know, I think it'd be fun.
I
Right?
think you
It'd be fun.
should.
It sounds like it's up your alley.
Totally.
Yeah, it sounds
Go
really
in the
like
forest and
great.
look at animals and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
As opposed to the Naturist Club?
Oh,
No.
I say it wrong, do I? Thanks,
No, you
Lizzie.
said it right.
Oh.
You said it right. Naturist Club is naked.
Oh.
Oh, I was like, it doesn't matter. I thought it was tomato.
Oh, I was like,
no.
I've been saying it wrong all this time.
No,
No,
you did it right. I was just
the
making a bad
Naturist
joke.
Club.
Yeah.
Naturist, naturalist.
I feel like the naturists should be the naked ones, and the
Yeah.
naturists should be the nature
No, I
watchers.
think naturist is naked.
I like
Maybe
that.
you should just be naked.
Maybe
and
you
at whatever
should be
club
the
you're at.
I
naturist
should-
naturalist.
I should join both.
Yes.
Yeah.
And try to
Nobody will
blend
ever
them
know where I'm
together.
going.
Try and make lots of friends at once.
The Naturist Naturalist Club, and we go out
I like
hiking
it.
and looking at birds in the buff.
For sure that
Yes.
exists somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. I just like flipped to a page, and I think it's really funny that he spells out. I love it when people do this, like spell out I'm on page 26, the sound the bird makes, and it's like kawa miti go shi It's like ridiculous. Like I'm not gonna be able to say this, let alone hear it in a bird, but I love it. I love it.
And then let's loose for up to 10 seconds without pausing.
And then it's like,
and this song is loud. I love he loves it so much. I love when people just like are so passionate about something.
I think that should be the challenge for this book, is we should each try to master a bird call.
Okay.
And we'll come back.
Chickadee.
Witchity, witchity,
I'll take
witchity,
chickadee all day.
witchity.
Okay.
Oh, God.
We all sit in our sit spot, and you find a bird. You need to mimic its call.
Oh my God.
I have
spell
to
it.
say,
And spell it.
and
so you
spell
can
it.
write
Spell it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can write it.
well, you just kind of guess. Like we're not going to
Yeah,
hold
like,
you
it
to it. It's
doesn't
not
sound like
Well, the
there's
bird's
much-
not going to be like,
I don't
actually,
think there's
it's
much
PI.
science there. Yeah, like you go
PI.
for it.
Just do it. We don't know.
Da, da, da.
I know that he has the recordings and there's the audio section, and I would like to say that I would listen to all of it, but I just feel like
I'm not going to listen to any of
I'll
that.
come back to that and then I won't, or I'll listen to
Same.
it all at once and then I'll completely forget the
It
context.
won't mean anything. That's too much. Like, he has a passion that I don't share. I think that this book is really interesting and whatever, but like, that's too much for me to like, oh, and I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to read some more and I'm going to like, that's too involved. I'm not even that involved in like my own book choice. Like, I can't.
Yeah, like maybe
That's
if
great.
I had a bird in my sit spot that was making a noise and I started wondering, I wonder if that's that. I might like go back and like look at that and maybe listen to his recordings and go, oh, it was this or it was that. But like, I think for me, I don't know if I'm like necessarily hell bent on knowing exactly what the birds are feeling, but even just the idea of how to pay attention. I skipped forward at some point to the chickadee part because we see a lot of chickadees in the winter here, and there's a park where people will put out chickadee food for the chickadees, so the kids can feed them from their hand and stuff like that. They're pretty tame, and it was interesting because it'll say the calls, and like the standard chickadee call is that's not the only call they do, obviously, but like it's not something you think about, but like they will call, but we only hear that chickadee thing when we're there feeding the birds. But what do they do when something else happens? So I started trying to listen to those birds differently. Like again, when a dog walks by, they might go quiet or they might say something different. So I don't know, I think I'd go back to the book and see if, oh, I wonder if this is what they were feeling. I don't think I'm going to listen to the recordings. I would like to say I would, but just knowing my personality,
I'm
We
glad
also
you
have
said
to,
that,
like,
because I
flip,
was like,
yeah.
should I tell them? I'm never listening to the recordings. Like, I was like, so I'm glad that you said that. I think also what you said is kind of an achievable thing. If we go to a sit spot and we find a specific sound, trying to hear if we hear that same voice making different sounds, because that's a really good point, right? Like you might hear chickadee and you're like, oh, I hear a chickadee, but then you might hear like poo and not think it's a chickadee, but it's totally a chickadee also saying something different, you know?
Right. They might be saying something to you.
Totally.
Like, would you like to be my friend?
Could you
Where's
bring
the
more
seed?
peanuts next time?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.